You think you understand people. You believe you can read intentions, predict behaviors, spot liars from across the room. But here's the uncomfortable truth. While you've been playing checkers with basic psychology, the world has been playing chess with your mind. Every conversation you've had, every negotiation you've entered, every relationship you've built, someone has been 3 moves ahead of you, and you didn't even know the game had started. In 2026, this stops, not because the world will become kinder, but because you're about to learn the rules. Nobody dares to teach. Machiavelli died in 1527, bitter and broke, watching the world reject his masterpiece. 5 centuries later, every Fortune 500 CEO has read The Prince in secret. Every politician quotes it behind closed doors. Every person who has real power understands what Machiavelli knew: human nature doesn't change. The mechanisms of influence, manipulation, and control are written into our DNA. The difference between those who get devoured by this world and those who thrive in it comes down to 13 principles. 13 dark rules that will make you impossible to manipulate and dangerous to underestimate. Let's start with the first rule. Never reveal your full intentions. Watch how children play poker. They smile when they get good cards, frown when they get bad ones. Adults do the same thing, just with more sophisticated masks. Every time you announce your plans, every time you share your strategy, you hand your opponents a roadmap to your destruction. Think about the last time you told someone about your big idea. How many of those conversations ended with that person subtly discouraging you? This wasn't concern. This was competition disguised as friendship. Machiavelli understood that your success is often someone else's failure, and people will sabotage what they can see coming. Social media has made this worse. Post your goals. Share your journey. Be authentic. Meanwhile, the people who actually accumulate power do so in silence. Keep your mouth shut about what matters. Let people guess. The moment you become illegible, you become dangerous. The second rule: make yourself indispensable, then unpredictable. You've been taught that reliability builds trust. And it does for everyone except you. When you become the person others can count on, you become the person others can control. Your predictability becomes your prison. Think about your workplace. The person who always says yes, who always stays late, are they the most valued? Or are they the most exploited? Now think about the person who occasionally delivers something brilliant, something unexpected. That person has power, not because they're reliable, but because they're irreplaceable and unpredictable. Your value isn't in how much you give, but in how impossible it would be to find someone else who can give what you give. The third rule cuts even deeper. Learn to use others' emotions against them while keeping yours invisible. You've been conditioned to believe that emotional intelligence means expressing your feelings, being vulnerable. That's therapeutic advice. It's not strategic advice. Every emotion you display is a weapon you hand to your adversary. Show anger, and they know how to provoke you. Show fear, and they know where to press. Machiavelli observed that the most dangerous leaders weren't the ones who felt nothing. They were the ones who felt everything, but showed nothing. The person who remains calm when everyone else is panicking, doesn't just appear more competent. They actually become more competent because they can think while others can only react. But there's a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. The real masters don't just hide their emotions. They manufacture emotions in others. They know that an angry person makes mistakes. A fearful person becomes compliant. A prideful person becomes predictable. You see this in every courtroom, every boardroom, every bedroom where real power is exchanged. One person is feeling. The other is orchestrating what they feel. The fourth rule is where we separate the pretenders from the truly formidable. Cultivate strategic friendships, but never confuse allies with friends. Most relationships are transactional, whether we admit it or not. People align with you because you offer something they need. The moment you stop providing that value, the relationship dissolves. The ones who get destroyed are those who believe their friends are unconditionally loyal. The ones who survive understand that loyalty is always conditional. That colleague who's friendly today, what do they gain from your friendship? That person who reached out after years of silence, what do they need? Once you start asking these questions, patterns emerge. You start seeing the infrastructure of social dynamics that's always been there, but invisible to your naive optimism. You give value to those who can give value back. You never mistake professional allies for people who would bleed for you. Because when the moment comes, and it always comes, when choosing you costs them something significant, most allies will choose themselves. Now we arrive at the fifth rule. Control the narrative or others will control it for you. You think truth matters. You think if you just do good work, people will see you accurately. They won't. Human perception is not objective. It's constructed through stories, and whoever tells the most compelling story about you becomes the architect of your reputation. Machiavelli understood that perception is reality. It doesn't matter what you actually did. It matters what people believe you did. Look at any public figure who's been destroyed. Did the truth matter? Or did the narrative win? You live in a world where everyone is a publisher, everyone is shaping narratives. If you're not actively constructing the story of who you are, someone else is doing it for you, and their version serves their interests, not yours. Strategic self-presentation isn't vanity. It's survival. Document your value. Shape your image. Control your narrative. The sixth rule is brutal in its simplicity. Keep people dependent on you, never you on them. Dependency is the fundamental structure of power. The person who needs nothing has all the leverage. Every boss who holds your livelihood in their hands, every person you need approval from, they own a piece of you, and they will use it. The most secure position is one where others need you more than you need them. The employee who has multiple job offers is untouchable. The person with options doesn't have to tolerate what the desperate endure. Your entire life strategy should be oriented around reducing your dependencies while increasing others' dependence on you. Build skills that are rare. Build wealth that creates options. This isn't about being mercenary. This is about understanding that freedom and power come from the same source, not needing what others can take away. The seventh rule reveals something disturbing about human nature. People respect power more than goodness. You've been taught that kindness and integrity will earn you respect. They won't. They'll earn you exploitation disguised as respect. Real respect comes from demonstrated power, not potential power, actual power that people have witnessed you exercise. Machiavelli famously asked whether it's better to be loved or feared. People who have seen you win, who have seen you exercise control over impossible situations, those people respect you in a way that nice people never experience. You gain more respect from handling one crisis brilliantly than from being pleasant for a decade. Competence generates respect. Power generates respect. Being agreeable generates compliance at best and contempt at worst. Stop trying to be liked. Start trying to be formidable. Because people are nicer to those they're slightly afraid of. The eighth rule is where we venture into uncomfortable territory. Appear virtuous while being ruthlessly practical. Every society has values it claims to honor: fairness, honesty, compassion, and every society is actually run by people who understand these are costumes, not constraints. Machiavelli observed that leaders who embodied perfect virtue inevitably got destroyed by those who appeared virtuous but acted strategically. The gap between how you appear and what you actually do, that gap is where power lives. Your reputation should be impeccable. Your public behavior should be beyond reproach. And beneath that, you do what works. You make the hard calls. You prioritize outcomes over optics when the stakes are high. The world doesn't reward perfect virtue. It rewards effective action wrapped in the appearance of virtue. The ninth rule requires you to abandon something you've been clinging to since childhood. Never expect loyalty to be reciprocated without proof. You've been loyal to employers who laid you off when convenient. You've been loyal to friends who disappeared when you needed them. And every time you got burned, you told yourself it was an exception. It wasn't. It was the rule revealing itself. People are loyal when loyalty serves them. The moment it costs them something significant, loyalty becomes negotiable. This isn't a defect in human nature. It's a feature. The people who navigate this successfully don't give loyalty freely. They give it conditionally, incrementally, and they withdraw it the moment it stops being reciprocated. They test people. Can this person keep a confidence? Can they resist an opportunity to undermine me? Most people fail these tests. The ones who pass get more trust. The ones who fail get polite distance. The 10th rule separates the amateurs from the masters. Study people more than they study themselves. Most people are mysteries to themselves. They don't understand their own patterns, their own triggers. They think they're complex when they're actually running on autopilot 90% of the time. Machiavelli was a student of human nature. He wanted to understand the mechanisms beneath the surface. Once you understand these mechanisms, you can predict behavior with startling accuracy. The person who loses their temper in meetings will lose their temper in negotiations. The person who gossips about others to you will gossip about you to others. Your advantage comes from observation. Watch how people behave when they think nobody's watching. Watch what they do when stressed, when threatened. These moments reveal core programming. But study yourself with the same ruthless objectivity. What are your patterns? What triggers you? Self-knowledge is the foundation of power because you can't defend what you don't understand. The 11th rule is perhaps the darkest. Never waste energy on enemies who don't matter. You've been taught to defend yourself against every slight, every criticism. That's exhausting. It's also strategic suicide. Because while you're fighting every small battle, the person who actually threatens you is maneuvering unopposed. Machiavelli understood that attention is a finite resource. The moment you engage with someone, you elevate them. Most enemies don't deserve this honor. Most critics are noise. The master move is discernment. Who actually has the power to damage you? Focus there. The rest. Ignore them so completely they cease to exist in your reality. This drives people insane, because indifference communicates something more devastating than any argument. You're not important enough to engage with. The 12th rule requires you to embrace something uncomfortable. Use calculated honesty as a weapon. Sometimes honesty is strategic, and sometimes deception is merciful. What matters is intentionality. Unexpected honesty can be more disarming than any lie. When everyone expects you to dissemble, and you tell a difficult truth, you create confusion and credibility simultaneously. The person who occasionally admits their flaws becomes more believable when they claim their strengths. But this only works if it's calculated. The question isn't, should I be honest? The question is, what does honesty accomplish in this moment? The most dangerous people are those who seem honest because they've calculated exactly when honesty serves them and when it doesn't. And now we arrive at the 13th and final rule. Trust your paranoia more than your optimism. You want to believe the best about people. This desire has cost you more than you'll ever calculate. Machiavelli's central insight was that humans are fundamentally self-interested. When you assume good faith and get betrayed, you're not a victim of malice. You're a victim of your own willful blindness. Your paranoia is pattern recognition, trying to save you. Those weird inconsistencies in someone's story, your paranoia noticed. That too, good to be true opportunity. Your paranoia flagged it, listened to it. The people who survive aren't the optimists who see the best in everyone. They're the clear-eyed realists who hope for the best but plan for the worst. They trust, but they verify. So here we are, 13 rules that don't appear in any self-help book. Are they dark? Absolutely. Are they true? Watch the world for 1 week with these rules in mind, and you tell me. Watch how the person who reveals everything gets exploited. Watch how emotional people get manipulated. Watch how friends disappear when you stop being useful. Watch how the narrative beats the truth. Watch how power generates respect that kindness never earns. Watch how the paranoid survive while the trusting get devoured. These rules didn't make the world dark. They describe the darkness that already exists. And the question is whether you're going to keep pretending it doesn't exist while it eats you alive, or whether you're finally going to open your eyes and learn to move through it with intention. Because 2026 isn't going to be kinder. The game isn't going to become more fair. But you can change. You can stop being the person things happen to and become the person who makes things happen. You can become something that cannot be outsmarted, because you finally understand the game everyone else has been playing while you stood there believing in fairness. Machiavelli died in obscurity, but his ideas conquered the world because they were true in a way that comfortable lies never are. These 13 rules won't make you popular, but they will make you dangerous to deceive, impossible to manipulate, and very difficult to defeat. You think you understand people now, don't you? Good. Because while you were reading this, something shifted, and the world is about to discover that you're no longer playing by the rules they gave you.